my average sale after a wedding, or, the average amount that people spend that's not in their initial package, is roughly like 4,000 to 6,000. If they got an engagement session, it's a little bit more. Usually they spend another like 2 on an engagement session, like these averages.
Hey friends, we are back with another episode of Success by Design with yours truly, Michael T. Davis, and I am here with an amazing special guest, Vanessa Joy. If you don't know about Vanessa, just let me tell you for a second. She is internationally renowned, awards, publications. She teaches all over the world. She's an amazing photographer, 25 plus years in the industry, lots of knowledge, lots of information, and she's always willing to help the next person. And even more than that, amazing and beautiful work, a photojournalistic and editorial approach. Vanessa, I'm excited to have you. Welcome.
Thank you. Although now I'm like beet red after listening to all of that. I appreciate it though. It's kind of amazing when you clump it all together.
Yeah, I mean, you've done amazing things. So you've done amazing things. You have a whole resume. But how did you get there? Let's start from the beginning. How did you get to where you are now?
I would say it's classic perfectionist overachiever syndrome. That really is the actual cause of all this. But I mean, I started when I was really young. Actually, I have my camera right here.
Oh, wow.
Me too. So started on the Canon AE1 or A1, and my mother gave it to me. It was her film camera when she was a photographer. So it's in the blood. The eye is there. And then my dad, I always say he's the one who taught me how to work, because he is, business owner himself. He provided for my whole family. And that's where I got the work ethic from. So you just combine a creative eye and a work ethic, and somebody that doesn't really take the word no very well. And here I am.
Got you. And you know what? And so you talk about you having a creative eye, but you could have photographed anything and everything. Like, why weddings? Why people? Where did that love come from?
I just like photographing people, specifically women, actually. And naturally in weddings, you get to photograph people. And if there is a bride in the wedding, then naturally I get to photograph women. So I did fall into there because my high school photography teacher was a wedding photographer on the weekends, and I ended up working for him after I graduated high school and I was in college. I actually came back to high school to use the mat cutter that they had there to cut mats for my prints, because the one they had in my college was crap. And I'm like, oh man, this is taking me 6 times as long because their mat cutter sucks. Like, let me just bring him a Dunkachino and walk in the back door of the high school and be like, hey, can I use your mat cutter? And I'm dating myself, although it was post-Columbine, not to get dark, but
I understand.
Like, you could just do that kind of thing. But it worked for him, and I did fall in love with weddings. And even since then, I still love photographing people, even though my job has led me to do a lot more. I don't show a lot of it, but like, I photograph for Hilton resorts, and I go all around the world photographing their resorts, which is really landscapes. Sometimes people, they do have people like talent in the pool and things like that. But yeah, that's where I make my bread and butter, the weddings. Really, really cut my teeth on the weddings.
I love it. You mentioned something in there that you went back to your high school to use the mat cutter for print things.
Yes.
And so I'm assuming that even in your infancy with photography, you were already printing stuff.
Oh yeah, that was the final product. It was when it was in your hands, it was real. And you would make, contact sheets, you would even scan things digitally and they were there, but it wasn't that final image until it was actually in your hands. Then it was finished.
I love that. That's a soundbite. That is the final product, right?
Yeah. And that's what lasts the longest, because, now I don't know where all those contact sheets are. I don't know where those scanned negatives are. I still have every single print that I cut a mat for. I still have them. I know exactly where they are.
And I feel like that's the same thing for like every like grandparent or parent still has every 4x6, 5x7 large photo of their loved ones, because that's the final product.
It
right?
is. And that's what lasts. And that's what you look at. And that's what you remember.
So how do you, because you educate a lot of people, right? And we all know, you and I both know, this industry is saturated with people who the final product for them are just digital images.
Yeah.
And so how do you go in your own, and I'm not trying to get, too deep into, your mastermind, right? But how do you get into like, hey, the final product doesn't end with just digitals. Have you thought about this?
Well, I don't give them the option because I will not, I used to have packages and like the top two had the album and the bottom one was just digitals. And then I stopped doing that because I realized it was such a disservice to my clients. Why am I charging them thousands of dollars and be like, here's your Air on the cloud? Like, that's just insulting. I had a mother of the bride even tell me that once. She's like, I'm looking at photographers and these ones that don't offer an album, I'm like insulted that I pay all this money and they hand me absolutely nothing. And not to like discredit the actual work. And yes, of course you're giving them the images and sweat, blood, and tears before and after that. But ultimately, hey, I'm charging $10,000 and you're like, here's your memory card or flash drive or Air, link. It's just not a full service. So I make it mandatory now. Every one of my packages has an album in it. And the lowest one now doesn't have digital files.
Yeah, I love it. And for anyone who's listening, I need you to rewind this multiple times and go back to that soundbite. I'm charging you multiple thousands of dollars and saying, here's your Air. That's what it is. That's, I never thought about it that way, but that's super crazy because that's essentially what digital files are doing. They're just living in the ether. And and going back to what you're saying, like how you're just that perfectionist, that work ethic, you're like, I'm going to give you what you deserve. I'm going to complete the service.
100%. Because when I hand them an album, 3 years later, I'm getting pictures from my clients of their kids looking at the album, or I happen to see the mother of the bride at another wedding and she's telling me how she looks through her album constantly and brought it around for years. That's a full service. That is enabling your clients to enjoy their photos, their memories as most as they can.
I love it. I feel like you're full of sound bites today. This is going to be you need to rewind multiple times to listen to this because it's true. It's true. So I would love for you to tell me about a memorable or challenging photo session you have and kind of how you overcame those obstacles.
Oh, every photo session is challenging in some kind of way, whether it's the weather or the random vibe or both the groom's mother and father, as well as their sister, join you for the engagement session, which happened a couple weeks ago. And they were perfectly pleasant, but it was like, oh, this is a lot of people that I am making these two people canoodle in front of. I hope they're okay with it. But, any challenge when it comes up, I like to bring myself back to why I'm here. I'm here to photograph this couple, this moment as best as I can. And I know the way that I'm going to problem solve it or the way that I'm going to choose my angles or my lenses, that's going to produce the best photos that they could have had at this particular moment. Maybe not ever in the entire world, but that's how I frame my mindset. If I'm going to think of a particular session with a lot of, I can't even think of one right now. Is that awful?
No, that's not.
And I can think of they're all typical challenging things. I have to pee and I can't because there's things happening, or I haven't eaten for 8 hours and I'm wondering, will I black out right now during the first dance? This just might happen. There's so many challenges, especially in the wedding fields, that are curveballs thrown at you. You just get used to lobbing them, man. Here comes another one. And I think wedding photography has created in me the realistic perspective that I'm there to capture what's happening, not control what's happening. Very different from, portrait sessions, very different from headshots that I do, or even shooting for Hilton. Very different.
Yeah. You had talked about, you remind yourself why you're there.
Hmm.
At what point in your journey, your career, did you develop that skill set to center yourself and just focus on that singular purpose?
It was probably around the time I was having way too many wedding nightmares, like the night before the wedding or even
That's real.
afterwards. That's real because you care. I care about every single wedding I photograph, every single wedding my team photographs. This year, I actually had 3 complaints right in a row, and I haven't had one in like 7 to 10 years, and it like broke me.
Hmm.
I care about every single wedding. So, of course, every photographer does, I think. We just have those nightmares because we care. So I thought about them and I'm like, why do I have these nightmares? Like, what's actually going to happen? Like, the bad things that are out of your control if your equipment breaks or I don't know, somebody falls in the fountain at the church. I don't know. Like, I'm like, okay, well, those things I can't control. And then what are the other things? It's, hair and makeup runs late. Okay, that I can't control either. But you know what? I'm really good at speed posing. So I'm going to be able to handle that. And then the last thing I always thought was, well, even if, in my opinion, these photos kind of suck from my perspective, they're still going to be some of the best photos that this couple has ever had of themselves. And there's a wild emotional attachment to them.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, letting go of what I can't control and also realizing that these are going to be incredibly powerful, meaningful photos to these people, I was able to just, okay, I can let go of the nightmares. And I really don't have that many now.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you know what I love most about it is that you're just like, you're purposefully letting go of the noise.
Yes.
And just blocking that out. And that's hard. And
It's very difficult.
That comes with experience. And I'm glad that you were able to share that because I know there's tons of people who are like, well, how do I quit the wedding nightmares? How do I, get in that groove? And I think that mindset about like remembering, one, your why, and two, remembering to be present.
Yes.
Right?
You're going to
So
do such a
important.
better job capturing a wedding when you're present. It's funny. So I mentioned my mom was a photographer and she used to do weddings. And she would say, and this is, definitely back in film days and like medium format film days, she would say at a wedding, you just really need to get that one great photo. And now, in my opinion, you need to get those 100 or so great photos because you need to make a great album because that's the final product. So all 1,000 or 2,000, depending on how long you're at the wedding, they don't all have to be incredible shots. They have to capture what's happening. But maybe like your goal really is like 100 great photos.
Yeah.
Because that's what you are going to end up printing.
Mm-hmm. And that's being intentional about shooting for the album, or shooting
100%.
for the wall, right?
Yes. Yes.
Which is
Like
a whole different
photographers,
dynamic.
It's totally different dynamic. But and I like to combine shooting for the wall and shooting for the full page spread because it does both, having that really wide and then the little people. I like they're, so it's funny because of social media these days, we all shoot so much vertical. It's not even funny. And I used to shoot so much horizontal and now there's like a huge switch.
Yeah.
And when I critique people's portfolios, it's one of the first things I say to them, be like, you need to start intentionally shooting more horizontals because you can't tell the story in an album with all these verticals. You can do great on social media with them, but you're not going to be able to tell the story as artistically as you could if you were varying it up a bit.
And I feel like that goes back to your own history with art, period, right? Your family lineage and your understanding. Because for me, like I come from the video production space and you have to set the setting. Like you have to have those landscape, the
scene setters,
those introductory shots to say like, this is what's happening. This is what they are.
This is
so I'm
where
so
we
glad
are.
that you brought that in. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I learned it from my husband, actually, who is a filmmaker. And
there you go.
Yep. And he would always say, like, you got to get scene setters. You got to get FaceTime, we call it. So just happy faces, random guests. And then you have to get all of the shots that are the important ones, wide, medium, tight. Wide, medium, tight. So wide landscapes, that's your full spread in your art. medium, that's just like your general, that's what's happening. And then those close-up details, those little intimate moments, maybe the rings, things like that. You got to get all of them to tell a story in an artistic way.
I love it. So when you mentioned about shooting for the album, we talked about that. How did Fundy come into your life? Because you went from cutting boards inside your high school to now Fundy. Talk to us about that, just that trajectory on software, and then how Fundy has made it easier for you.
Oh man. I mean, when we first started doing albums, we would design them in a program that I cannot remember at all right now. It was horridly tedious. It was literally, what it was is we were using Art Leather. I think the album company wasn't, they're fantastic, or they were fantastic. I'm not sure if they're still around. I think they are. But you would have these like set matte pages, half, spreads, and you would have to choose the matte and then plop in the pictures.
Wow.
And oh my, and then when you got it, like you would send all those printed or organized photos that were like, okay, you chose this matte, so this picture's a 3x5 and this one's a 4x6 and this one's an 8x10. You get all those prints back, and then you'd have to assemble it with tape on the back of these mats and then slide it into the album page. I have to say,
wow.
I do miss hands-on things. Like I found a lot of solace in the hands-on, which is why I started doing film again. And I started going to a dark room in New York before I moved to Austin. But now, I mean, when it came to albums, I definitely went through a few different programs. But the second album, the Fundy album builder came out with auto design. It's like, okay, I'm not doing anything else because I can design albums in like less than a second. Technically. Obviously, I'm going to tweak things, but I have full videos of me doing album designs on my YouTube channel because I think it's fascinating. I think it's incredible the way that Fundy can auto design it. Now proof it in a way that is such a nice client experience if you're not doing like in-person changes. But even if you are, like being able to proof that final album to them in a way they can share on social media, like now it's a marketing tool as well.
I love it. Is there a feature in Fundy that you just absolutely can't live without?
I mean, it's the auto design because that's what it is. I just drag everything in and boop, done.
I love it. I love it. Could you share with us like a most memorable or largest sale that you've had and what that process looks like?
It was actually yesterday.
Oh, okay. There we go. Let's go. Fresh in your head, right?
Super fresh. So my average sale after a wedding, or, the average amount that people spend that's not in their initial package, is roughly like $4,000 to $6,000. If they got an engagement session, it's a little bit more. Usually they spend another like $2,000 on an engagement session, these averages. Yesterday it was 14, and I'm pretty happy about that. And that one, I do have to say, it was a really long process. It's from a client from last year, very high-end client. And I find the high-end clients are the most difficult to like nail down and get them to do the album design with you. So with her, because I knew how busy she was, I actually used Fundy's proofing. It was back and forth for 8 months probably. And not with like changes, just with options. You could do this because it's over, I want to say it's like 176 pages or something along those lines. So the option is, do you want to do multi-volume, or do you want to go into a book like Couture book that, you can put more than 100 pages in. So that, it was just a lot of back and forth and deciding, but officially paid the invoice last night, 14 grand.
That's first of all, congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
And the second piece, like, I feel like this is full circle, tying back into what we were talking about, that client experience and that client service, and that you're not giving them air. And part of that is being intentional and being in the process and not rushing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, if they're going to take a little longer and they have to make decisions, or honestly, they just forget about their wedding album for a minute because life happens after you get married. Okay, that's okay. I don't love it, for the record. I don't love that. And that's an anomaly of, I usually don't have to chase down clients like that. It's an anomaly, but it was well worth it.
Yeah. I get to see the smile on your face. You're like, yes. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. And so talking about Fundy, we know that they just came out with a new software, this social
Yes.
design app. How have you incorporated that in your own business, and how has that changed your workflow when it comes to social media?
The social design app, it takes the boring out of the carousels because those carousels, and I use them on social media still when I just want to post something quickly, but it's so much prettier when like you just take that extra second, because really that's all it is an extra second on your desktop, and you make something nice. I actually had a client, I used the social design app to just design something cute. I just wanted to not do a regular carousel on Instagram. And she was like, this is why you're the best photographer ever, because you just designed this stuff out of nowhere and this amazing surprise. And I'm like, it took 6 seconds. I'm really glad that I think I poured my blood, sweat, and tears. But, I just love stuff like that. I love being able to surprise my clients, in addition to just having more interesting feeds.
And like I said, it takes the boring out of carousels, like something that people see all the time, because there was a point where carousels were like the new thing. And then now it's just like people are so used to it. And here comes social design that just changes the game.
It does. It does. And it's easy to use. And like, you're setting up your template and your brand, and there's so many different options. I know most photographers will probably stick to like one, because Instagram, like, we're trying to brand ourselves. Although I do have to say, I stopped caring about what my overall feed looked like and just posted things that I knew were going to get a lot of engagement. And my feed looks like crap right now, but it's getting the best engagement it ever has.
I mean, but we moved into a whole new realm of engagement, right? And so like
we did.
The whole idea of having a curated Instagram feed where people are scrolling to make sure everything looks pink and pretty, I feel like TikTok just threw that out of the water.
It did. It did. We now appreciate a little bit more realism, of course, until I dare to post a bikini selfie of me actually enjoying myself like yesterday, and then I get like publicly bashed for it. How dare I be human in a bathing suit on a lake? How dare I? Can I live?
I love it. So I have 2 more questions before we jump into the rapid fire. The first one, who has been your greatest influence or mentor in this industry, and what lessons have you learned from them along the way?
I hate that question with like an undying passion, because everyone asks that and it's like, you might as well ask me to pick my favorite photograph I've ever taken, because it's just as impossible. I've had people like Joe Busink was a big one for me. Not that I ever really met him in person until much, much later, and like more recently got to know him. It was like that far off mentor that you just looked at. And then I had the guy that was my high school photography teacher that I ended up working for. Like, he was a real mentor. Like, 5 years I worked for him. He mentored me. He made me better. He taught me tons. I think mentors come in so many different facets, and at different points of my life, there are different people in them. Like now I would say Sal Sincata is somebody that, and I wouldn't even necessarily call him a mentor as much as a peer, but you get to a point where your peers mentor you as well. Like they're the ones that can push you. They're the ones that you can go to with a problem, be like, what, can you read this email? Cause I know I'm feeling snarky and I can't tell if it's coming across.
Yeah. And I love how you introduced the fact that, peers can be, there could be times where peers are also being able to mentor you or give you advice.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be like, we're on the same level, so you can't do anything for me type of mentality.
Right. No, not at all. They're the ones that are going through it with you.
I love it. So last question. What advice do you have for any aspiring wedding or portrait photographers that are listening?
Ooh. My biggest one is don't make mistakes on your own reputation and with your own money. So many photographers buy a camera and start their business and start doing photo shoots under their name. I think it's the biggest mistake you can do, because you're going to make a million mistakes when you're first starting out. It is so much better. Find a mentor that you can work for. Find 6 studios that you can work for and work for them for an entire year before you really start marketing yourself as a photographer. You will learn so much, and work for them for free if you have to. Because if you think about it, if you want to go to college, you would have paid for that. If you want to go to workshops, you're going to pay for that. So if you can not pay for actual on-the-job experience that's going to save your reputation and save your money, go do that. Plus, you'll build great relationships and expand your network, which is the best thing you can do as a business owner anyway.
Excellent. And I'm reminded by all the photographers in the Facebook groups, or probably even in your DMs, to saying, hey,
Yes.
can I second shoot for you? Can I do this? Can I do that? And whenever I hear those questions, I'm just like, why don't you just go to ask to have tea, coffee, ask to hold a bag? Like, like ask to just be present and learn before you pick up your camera. So I thought that was excellent advice.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it shows what kind of work ethic you have, because I get those all the time. And it's incredible to me. And not to like toot my own horn or anything, like you should want to work with me, but I do have a lot of opportunity to give, and I have a lot of knowledge to give. And I've had people that have been like, oh, I want to work with you. I'll be an assistant. I want to intern, and literally never even show up. Finding, be that person that's going to have a good work ethic, and you will grow faster than any talented photographer in your area.
Yeah, and that's key, because when we think about successful photographers, and I want to say the mass, when the mass industry thinks about successful photographers, we think about, oh, they take amazing pictures. They're traveling here, they're traveling there. They have this large studio. But what you just said is so key, like being successful in the industry. Yes, you have to take nice pictures, the standard, but you also just have to be good at business. You have to be intentional about the relationships that you build, the reputation that you have, like all of that stuff, just bringing it and grounding yourself in that before you're like, hey, look at all of my amazing work.
Yeah, absolutely. Because your work, I hate to say it, but it's only going to take you so far.
Hey, listen, I don't hate for you to say it at all, because people need to hear it.
Yeah. Stop buying new cameras and lenses and start investing in your business.
Awesome. So we're going to go to my favorite segment, rapid fire. So first thing that comes to your mind, just let me know. So we're going to start with the softball question. Are you ready?
Okay. I thought you said softbox.
No, softball question. Okay. If your life was a story, what would it be titled?
What the fuck is wrong with her?
Awesome. What is the most interesting thing in your purse right now?
I don't have a purse. I haven't carried one around for years.
A clutch? A wallet?
Just my phone.
Okay.
It has my
just your
license
phone.
and 3 credit cards.
Beautiful. What is your favorite lens to shoot with?
Ooh, the RF 85mm f1.2. It's the prettiest. Favorite one to shoot with. Not the one I use the most, though.
Gotcha. What time of the day are you most inspired?
In the morning. I'm a morning person mentally, but if I'm going to exercise, I'm inspired to do so in the afternoon.
Gotcha. Favorite snack while working?
Anything crunchy.
Anything crunchy. I love it. I love it. If you could win an Olympic gold medal in anything, what would it be?
Oh, gymnastics. I used to be a gymnast. That'd be fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. What would be your secret spy name?
Spy name.
Yes.
Oh, probably Dark Phoenix. I'm just an X-Men fan.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Favorite show to binge?
Right now, I'm liking Physical on Apple TV. It's pretty dark.
Got you. What is your easiest upsell tactic?
I just tell them a story or finish telling them a story.
Beautiful. Craziest thing that you've ever been asked to photograph?
I haven't been asked to photograph really anything crazy. I did have a friend of mine that was asked to photograph a brother and sister in a bathtub, though.
Okay. Well, we'll use
Adults.
that one. First thing you do when you walk into your office?
Sigh at the mess.
Awesome. And the last one, describe your style in one word.
Chameleon.
Beautiful. I love it. Vanessa, it's been amazing chatting with you.
You
I
too.
want to give you some time. Just the last few minutes. Go ahead, tell people where they can find you, how they can work with you, how they can learn from you. The stage is yours.
All right. Well, you can go to vanessajoy.com if you're looking for a photographer. And if you are a photographer, there's a little menu thing at the top that says EDU. And that's where you can get a bunch of stuff, including a free posing guide, actually. You'll be able to find it on that website, along with all the other education that I have. But I like to say I hang out on Instagram and YouTube the most. So that's where I tend to see most of my audience. In addition to, I have a photo community called the Photo Insiders.
Beautiful. Vanessa, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and for those amazing sound bites. People, if you're listening, I need you to listen to this again and again, because Vanessa just dropped amazing gems on not only how to level up your business, but how to level up your personal life so that you could just be more fuller and more present for your couples and for yourself. And Vanessa, for that, I say thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice one.